In this video, I will be going over the process to create new OmniMech variants in Mech 5 clans. In a later video, I will be going over Battlemechs as the process is slightly different and a little more similar to Mercs, but the OmniMech process is a little new, and that's what this video will be about. So the first thing you want to do is you want to navigate to the folder of the Mech variant you want to add. Now, you'll see all these folders here, the mech part config, the omnipods, the loadouts, the unit cards. These do not need to be in these specific folders. We have them formatted like this for organizational purposes. However, it does not need to be in the same directory as the mech itself. And there's no specific directory the game will look for. As long as it exists in the project, it can be used. For example, if you go all the way towards the Trials of War DLC, you can see the Stormcrow hero, the Lacerator, exists here in an entirely different folder, and the game accepts that just fine. So for those who are familiar with the process of how to make a mech in Mercs, one thing you will notice is that there's only one MDA for the Stormcrow. OmniMechs do not need multiple MDAs. You do not have to make specific tags for each variant. They all use the specific Stormcrow MDA, and that's it. You can see it has the can equip Omnipods checked here, and that is all you need to do for the MDA. As long as it exists, you are good to go. Now, what you're going to do is go to mech part config, and you're going to make a new folder for the variant you are creating. In this case, we are doing the Stormcrow I. Now, you can create your own mech part files, but I heavily recommend against that, as mech part files are very finicky and very error prone, and there's a lot of detail that goes into them. I can make a separate video for that later, but if you are making a variant for a mech that already exists, it is best to just copy a different variant's mech part config files and just paste it over and tweak it. That way, instead of rebuilding it from the ground up, you have an already working mech part config set that you can just adjust. Now that they're created, I'm going to batch rename them from SCRA to SCRI. And once that's through, we're just going to open each mech part config. You're going to want to open all of them individually because Unreal Engine thinks that these all can be batch edited if I were to click on them all and edit like this. But you want to edit them all individually instead, as they are not something that can be uniformly changed. So if we start at the CT, you will see the fixed armor, the fixed structure slot, and the gyro and the engine. Now, the Stormcrow has no open center torso slots, so none of these need to be tweaked or changed. If you go down to the engine, you will see the engine is slot locked, the Clan XL330. That is because Clan OmniMechs could not adjust their engine, so there are no changes you need to make here. It's best when you build a mech that you have already built it somewhere. It could be Mech Factory, could be MegaMech, could be MechDB, just somewhere you can have the whole mech on a sheet of paper in front of you. That way you can have everything planned out and know exactly what you're doing. In my case, I have the mech built on MechDB. This is the loadout of the Stormcrow Prime, or not the Stormcrow Prime, the Stormcrow I. And now that this is all built, I know exactly what needs to go in each component. So the mech part files, none of the equipment goes in here. Everything that goes in the mech part file is something that is locked to the mech itself and is not meant to be adjusted by the player. So this clan double heatsink, the LRM ammo, the ER med, none of these items go in the mech part file, but the engine, the gyro, the fixed slots, upper arm, lower arm, and hand actuator, those are all items you set up in the mech part itself. So the head does not need anything changed, so that can be left as is. The left arm needs 2 energy. So what we are going to do is we're going to select all of these. We're going to clear it. And then we're going to select this hardpoint as well and clear it. If you've done hardpoint assignments in Mercs, this is a very similar format. It is holding on to the left arm component designation here, and it will only show items that are or hard points that are listed in the left arm component. So if I go to the Stormcrow model over here and I open up the Stormcrow hardpoint file, what you will see is if I go to the left arm ballistic, you will see I have enumerated it as left arm here. So it will only show up on the left arm mech part files. The blanks are geometry that's just added that doesn't serve any hardpoint purpose. So for example, the hand left blank will go in the blank hardpoint if the hand left melee will go in the melee hardpoint. Getting the melee hardpoints wrong is the most common cause of mechs breaking, and I will go over that in a few. So first, we know that this variant needs 2 energy hardpoints, each one taking up a single slot. So there are 2 ways to do that. The first is, well, the first step is to put both the energies in. I can just shift collect them both and then assign them into the active weapon hardpoints. Now, there are 2 ways to do it. The first is you see this way the hardpoint is already set up. It's each energy slot has 1 hardpoint assigned. Forearm left EH1, forearm left EH2, but that would only limit you to 2 single slot weapons. If you wanted to put something like, say, a large pulse laser or an ERPPC, that would not fit because that's a single 2-slot gun instead of these 2 1-slot guns. So if you were to, say, make this energy slot 2 slots, and you hit save, it'll automatically update. It'll clear out the slot beneath it because now these 2 slots are intersecting. So if you go to this slot, it is now blocked out because this slot is taking up its space. And now you could equip an ERPPC in there if you wanted to. And then if I go to index slot 3, then I could assign what hardpoint goes in here. For now, I'm just going to wipe all the weapon slots in this arm. And then we can build this weapon from scratch. Or this weapon hardpoint from scratch. The first thing is that you see that it needs an energy weapon. So you go to the first slot and then general equipment slot type, you would put energy slot type. And then you would determine how many slots you want this energy item to take. So if I do 1, 2, 3, come on. Then if I hit save, after you adjust the slot size of something, you always hit save. And that is because this is slot 2 and 3 still exist here, but once I hit save, the mech part will update and slot 2 and 3 are now locked out because this 3-slot item is overriding them. So if you ever change the size of something, you always hit save immediately after before you make any more tweaks to it. In this case, I'm just going to make it 1 slot. I'm going to hit save again. I'm going to have to clear these 2 out. I'm going to add the associated hardpoint ID. And then I'm going to do forearm left EH1. That means that the hardpoint I selected here, forearm left EH1, will then go into this slot. And then what I can do is that because I want to put another energy slot here, I can just copy, paste, and now it's the exact same energy hardpoint, and all I need to do is update it from EH1 to EH2. And now the hardpoints of this component are set. If I want to clear this because this energy slot doesn't need to be here, I just go to the energy slot and type general equipment slot, make sure that there is not any hardpoint IDs in there, and we are good to go. Now, if you wanted to have a locked piece of equipment in here, like let's say you wanted this ER large to be locked, you didn't want the player to be able to remove it, then what you could do is you could put in the default equipment, C ER large. Oh, ER large. There we go. And then it could be slot locked. Now, if it's slot locked, you'll see that there's an lock icon here. This means that the players will not be able to unequip that item. So for now, we're just going to turn off that slot lock. Immune to empty damage. I mean, immune to damage also means this item cannot be crit out. Disallow empty slot means that the player cannot empty out the weapon in there. They would have to put something else in its place. That function is especially useful for engines, as we do not want players to be able to put no engine in their mech. So, disallow empty slot means that the player cannot take out this XL330 engine without putting another engine in its place. So, now that this is set, the next thing you want to do is you want to go down the locked slots here. So this is the shoulder actuator. It would be internal equipment slot type, clan equipment shoulder slot locked because it's an internal item and it cannot be removed or changed. And then you have the upper arm actuator, the lower arm actuator, and the hand actuator. Now the hand actuator and the lower arm actuator is where things tend to break. The first is you need to have the clan hardpoint or the clan melee hardpoint. So this is the hand left melee. If you go into the hardpoint setup of the Stormcrow, you go to hand left melee. If you go with the hardpoint values, you can see weapon melee mech punch left medium. Now it has to be mech punch left, not lower arm left. Or was it LAA? Yeah, that's it. Forearm left because it's going in a clan because it's going in a melee slot. And then it also has to be the melee medium slot type, not heavy, not assault, not light, and then the weapon has to be hand medium. If I set this to a light slot type and if I set this to an assault, this mech will then be marked as invalid and you will spend a lot of time trying to figure out what went wrong. So we're going to go back towards melee medium, and that is it for that. And that is the left arm setup. Now in the right arm, I'm going to show you how to do a lower arm actuator as your melee weapon instead of a hand actuator. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clear everything here. We are not putting the melee items in. So that means I need to add a new hardpoint. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. Lower arm, right melee. All right, so then mech punch right. Oh, that was already in there. My bad. So now we go back to the right arm. First we save this. And then we go back to the right arm, hard points, reload. Lower arm, right melee now exists. So I put that in the weapon hard points. And then the right arm also has 2 energy. So that's going to be EH1, EH2. The hand is not equipped, so the hand blank will not be put in. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to remove this melee hand slot type. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to, come on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do melee lower arm medium slot type. And then it's going to be the lower arm right melee. And now I have to change it to clan melee lower arm medium. Like I said, the slot type and the equipment have to match. If this is a lower arm slot type, it has to be a lower arm item in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this lower arm actuator here because there's a lower arm equipment item here. So this lower arm actuator is now redundant. So I'm going to copy the upper arm, paste it down below, copy the shoulder, paste it down below, and then I'm going to copy the general, paste it down below. And now this arm is not configured to melee with a hand hardpoint. It is configured to melee with a lower arm. And then we have this missile slot type here. This needs to become an energy hardpoint. And for this one, I'm going to make it two slots and I'm going to combine them. That way you can see what the other style of making hardpoints is like. So I'm going to make this energy 2 slots. I'm going to delete its current hardpoint. I'm going to add forearm right EH1, forearm right EH2. So now both of these hardpoints are both existing in this single slot. Well, 2 slot single hardpoint. So then the ER large would go here, the ER med would go here, or if you take them out, you could put an ER PPC in there if you want, or a large pulse. That way, bigger weapons can be allowed. We typically reserve single slot hardpoints like this for something like the Nova, a mech that can boat a lot of guns, just to help restrict it a bit more because it's already such a powerful mech. So if you look at the Nova, it's 6 single energy slots. While if you look at this mech, because it's just 2 hard points, it can equip something bigger, like say an ERPPC or a large pulse. Now, I resized this slot, so I need to hit save immediately. And now there's just residual 3 missile slots here, just from the missile hardpoint that existed here before. I could go in and clear all those one by one, or I can just find a general slot and I can just copy and I can paste, 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 and boom, that's done. Now let's go to the right torso and set up the missile hardpoint here. This one's a little easier because the missile hardpoint already exists and it can be a 5 slot. That way, if you want to upgrade it to the biggest weapon, you can. We don't have to tweak that. And then if we go to the left torso, this already also exists in the way we need. This is another thing about copying mech variants is that if you see that there's similarities in the mech parts from a variant you already want, then you can just feel free to copy from that specific variant. For example, the Stormcrow Eye has 2 energy in each arm. Another variant that has 2 energy in each arm is the Stormcrow Prime. So we could have just copied that. I wanted to walk you guys through how to create the variants, but if there's something similar that already exists on the same mech, don't be afraid to copy it. So these are all the mech parts done. We don't have to adjust the CT, don't have to adjust the head, don't have to adjust the legs because those are just both locked items. And now we are on to the Omnipods. So there's 2 parts of the Omnipod file. There's the Omnipod assets themselves, and then there's the Omnipod bundle. The Omnipod bundle contains all the Omnipods. It also says how much XP it costs to unlock said Omnipod. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the Stormcrow A again. And we are going to rename it to the Stormcrow I Omnipod bundle. Now, there are already 5 Omnipods in here. So typically, you would do the display order to be number 6. That way it's at the bottom. But there's also the Stormcrow Hero, and that's number 6. So this is going to be number 7. We're just going to set its XP unlock to 1. It costs 1 XP. Always unlocked means that it's like the Prime, where once you unlock it, once you unlock the mech, the Omnipod is there. And then disable means that we don't want this Omnipod to appear to players, but we want it to be available in the game. An example of where we would use something like disable is if there's a boss mech and we want them to have a special loadout that we don't want the players to have. We would create the Omnipod and then we would disable it. So we're going to rename this from SCRA to SCRI. We're going to do bundle short name to I because that is the single variant abbreviation. And now we will update all of these in a moment once the files exist. So what we're going to do is make a new folder, SCRI. Once again, copying the Stormcrow A. Once again, this error is because there are now duplicate files with the same name. We will batch rename from SCRA to SCRI. And now what we are going to do is we are going to start assigning the mech parts that we just created. So go back to the mech part config, Stormcrow I CT, Stormcrow you need to be expanded. Stormcrow eye head. Stormcrow eye left arm. Left leg. LT. Right arm. Right leg. Right torso. And then we will set the Omnipod bundle momentarily. Now we have to rename. I'm just going to copy paste that. Boom. 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 Okay, now these Omnipods exist. We will set the Omnipod bundle in just a moment. And then one thing you will notice here is there's aggregate stats fragment and other fragments. Now the aggregate stats are where you add quirks. So like, let's say you wanted to have extra ammo, or if you wanted to have extra, heat sinks, or if you wanted to have other quirks, or you wanted it to have extra armor. We try not to use quirks. We try to balance mechs in other ways, but the quirks exist if you do want to add them. We're going to go back here. And now we're going to select them all, bulk edit. And we are going to set them to the Stormcrow Eye Omnipod bundle. And now the Omnipod and the Omnipod bundle is created. And now what we are going to set and create is the loadout. There we go. Stormcrow Eye loadout. This is where we set the default skin of the mech. We can do any skin we want. I'm just going to choose Ghost Bear Delta because that's one of my favorites. Then we can set the colors, the default colors if we want. If we don't set them, then it'll just be the skin default. This is where we set the health. We're just going to gloss over all that. A lot of that's pretty self-explanatory. And then these are where the weapon hardpoints these are where the weapon hardpoints have their weapon groups set. The first thing you do is you set the Omnipods. So SCRI. Now, sometimes the Omnipods will not show up on here if they are new. That is because Unreal Engine has not indexed them yet. If you go to make a loadout and the new Omnipods do not show up, all you simply need to do is save everything and then restart your Unreal Engine. I am lucky. These are showing up. I don't have to index them. I would say the rate of me having to restart Unreal before doing this step is probably somewhere around 70% of the time. So it's pretty common. SCRI. You need to make sure the Omnipods match here. You need to make sure that the left torso Omnipod item goes in the left torso. Need to make sure the left arm goes in left arm, so on and so forth. And once all the Omnipods are in, you're going to save this. And now we can start installing equipment. So I know the head has a clan active probe, which very frustratingly is called clan beagle active probe. Don't think about it too much. I know the center torso is empty, so I'm just going to collapse these two. I know the left torso has, if I recheck, each torso has an LRM 15 and a LRM ammo and a heatsink. So LRM 15, clan LRM 15. The clan LRM 15 I know takes 2 slots. Therefore, I need to leave 1 slot here empty. If you are ever unsure, you can always find the equipment item in here and you can see how many slots it takes. You will cause Mechlab errors if items overlap slot-wise. Another thing I forgot to go over is the index here. You can see where the hardpoint is located. So you can see that, there's the missile hardpoint here, and it's 5 slots, which means I can put the one LRM 15 anywhere in here that I want. If I put another LRM in here, it's 2 weapons, and I only have a single hardpoint, and that will also cause a Mechlab error. So now I do LRM ammo, plan LRM ammo, then the heatsink can be moved up 1, double heatsink, and that is the left torso. Now onto the left arm. We can just clear all of you. ER large laser in this hardpoint, ER medium laser in this hardpoint, and then a double heatsink. And that's all that goes in the left arm. Left leg doesn't have anything. Oh, one thing I forgot to go over. The melee weapon, because we put that default item in the mech part config, it does not need to go in here. Right torso has a LRM 15, then LRM ammo. Gonna copy you, paste you here, delete you. That's all set. Right arm. Now this one looks a little different because I did a single 2-slot energy chunk instead of 2 single slot ones. So it says energy general slot, 2 slots, 2 hard points. So these 2 slots, it can hold 2 hard points, which means putting an ER large here and an ER med here is valid, even though there's no hard point here. Then the right leg is empty. Additional engine heat sinks. This is a battle mech item only. It's how many heat sinks you put inside the engine. In the case of battle mechs, you would put 0 through 6. In the case of OmniMechs, it's always 0. If you do want to tweak the amount of engine heat sinks an OmniMech has, you go to the mech part config, you go to the center torso, and then you go down to the engine, slot size, and then the engine slot size is set there, and then provides fixed engine heat sinks is up here. If I was to check that, I would do the number of heat sinks that are in there. But the Stormcrow, despite having a 330 engine, does not have any fixed heat sinks inside the engine, so we are just going to uncheck that. And then if you go back to the loadout, Stormcrow I, save it, you can see the mech tonnage up here. So that way you don't have to go into the Mechlab to see if your mech is overweight. It's at 55 out of 55. One thing about clans is that it automatically rounds up to the next half ton. So if I put this at 1 armor point over, it is, oh, maybe 2 armor points is the key. Let's just go with that. And then save. 55.25. Even though 5 armor is not a quarter of a ton, it's rounding up to the nearest quarter ton. And that is everything you need to do to make a custom OmniMech variant. The unit card is not like Mercs. The unit card is needed to spawn mechs in a level, to spawn NPC mechs in a level, but because this is a player mech item, we don't need to set the unit card. If you wanted to, you would just duplicate it, and then you would set its loadout, and that's all you need to do. So now we are going to Mechlab. My computer will need a moment to load. I have not opened clans in a hot minute. I'm just going to scale down the settings a bit just to help things load a bit quicker. We're going to play the level. It's going to take a while to load. And we are now in. So what we will do is we will scroll down to the Stormcrow. And now we're going to edit loadout. And voila, the Stormcrow eye appears. Did I make I did make a mistake. There's one step I forgot. I forgot to go back to the Omnipod bundle and take the Stormcrow eye loadout, put that in the Omnipod bundle, and then put the Omnipods in the bundle as well. Now, if I run this back, voila, the Stormcrow eye exists. And if I do home, add currency, Stormcrow Mech XP, unlock, apply loadout. Now, if I edit the preset, the mech is not invalid, and all the items are in here. You can see there's this item here. This is the arm we made with the 2-block slot, so I can put a PPC in here if I want. And then you will also see that the medium lower arm slot is here, while if we look at the other arm, it is a hand actuator. And if I wanted to put a PPC here, I couldn't, because these are 2 single slot blocks. And that is how you make a new OmniMech variant. Feel free to ping me at Tios on the Mech 5 clan server, or ping Buckton or Omid. They will also know if there are any issues or any hiccups along the way. Thank you so much.